Today we're going to talk about Robot Factory, which is a game about conveyor belts. Robot Factory is a 2 to 4 player game where you're a factory worker operating a robot remotely, and the robot is moving all over the conveyor belts of the factory trying to collect resources to build the robots. You have sort of life points, which are CPUs, which you could use in the case that your robot falls off the factory floor. Well, it's pushed off the factory floor by someone else, more like then falls off on his own. The thing is, you operate this robot, he moves around the robot floor, which is a set of 4 conveyor belt lanes which are moving across each other as you move. So what's cool about this, the board at least, in fact, is that the conveyor belts are moving and the players move them, and you manipulate these conveyor belts. You push them to one side or the other according to the way that is set at the moment, and they can reverse sides that they move, but the board is changing all the time. With each turn, almost every turn, someone will push the conveyor belt to one side, a new tile is drawn, something new is revealed, and the board, when it starts, is always completely different to the board when the game ends. So there is a complete evolution, a complete change, a complete randomization, because the board is completely random, but there is an evolution. The maze which you are navigating through is evolving and changing as you play. I think that's one of the biggest cool points of Robot Factory. This board which starts as one entity and then evolves and changes slowly but surely as you play. And the trick is, while you're navigating your robot across the factory, the trick is, what you need to find is the perfect manipulations you need to do to the actual board to be able to progress and get to the resources that you need to be able to build the robots. Building the robot is really quite simple. You get 3 of these cards which are visible at the time, and these are the robots that you can build. And you need to find the resources that you need. So this one needs 2 blues, 1 green, and 1 red. There are 3 sizes of robots you could build: the 4, the 3, and the 2, and each of one gives you exponentially more victory points. All you need to do is, once you've collected the resources that you need, you just stop on a green spot, which is an assembly point on the board, and then you build it, and you score it. So essentially, the winner is the person who has the most points at the end of the game, and the game ends with 2 endgame conditions. Either one color of resources runs out, or the other endgame condition is when one robot loses all of his CPUs. Then you just score how much robots you've managed to build and how much points each of one of those scores you, and the player with the most points wins the game. Manipulations happen mostly on 2 fronts to the board, right? You can either push a conveyor belt to the side that it's moving to, right? So you would essentially physically push forward the tiles, and the one that is farthest in the front falls off the conveyor belt. And I really like the way that they use the word falls off even in the rulebook itself, because it does feel like the item that is on that tile falls off the actual board and is removed from the game, and then you draw and something new is revealed, something new comes up, and that is replicated extremely well. The conveyor belt feel of things moving along the production line, and when it reaches the end, it just falls off the production line and something else comes to replace it from the back. That is replicated perfectly in this game. Really, really, really good. The other way to manipulate is by placing extra little conveyor belts between the lanes and between the tiles. And essentially there are places where it says caution, and that means that you can't pass through unless you place a mini conveyor belt to join the tile. So you can actually increase the number of links between the different lanes by placing down these conveyor belts, which some programming cards allow you to. So you just place that, and that opens a new route for you to move through. Because the board is completely randomly generated and completely randomly always changing, there is a small possibility that you get stuck at some point. And I did get stuck in the games that we played, one of them, where I was essentially stuck for the entire first 3 turns. And the thing is that you draw programming cards randomly, and only some of those cards have the extra little conveyor belts that you can place, and I just didn't draw any. Another thing is that the game is called Robot Factory. There is a really strong thematic factory feeling, but there isn't a really strong robot building thing going on there. You feel like you're building something, you do feel like you're operating a robot, but you don't feel like you're building a robot. It feels like you're building a generic product, right, with a robot in a factory. But the factory component is really, in the Robot Factory duology, The factory components is really strong, spot on thematic representation. With regards to the robot building, not so much. That's not a gripe at all, the game is lots of fun. I have really enjoyed playing this game. Just at the robot building, if you're looking for a robot building game per se, this is not the one. This is more of a sort of robot operating in a factory game, rather than building robots per se. The player interaction is not very low. It's a medium sort of player interaction there that's going on, and it's all about changing the board cunningly to benefit you and possibly to the detriment of your opponent, possibly. Like a factory, it has a lot of moving parts, but those moving parts all come together to create a stable, solid final product, which works very well. I think this sentence sums it up. Robot Factory works like an ever-changing maze which you can manipulate to try to navigate better to your benefit and to the detriment of your opponents. That's what it is, an ever-changing maze that you must try to manipulate with the little power you have to navigate it the most efficiently possible. That's where it comes in. The manipulation and then the navigation of this maze, which is changing all the time. That's Robot Factory. Hey dudes, if you like these videos and you want to see more, click subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. Actually, leave more comments. I want more comments on these videos. Let's discuss things. If you disagree with something, put something in there and I will most definitely answer you. Please don't tell me I have a speech impediment.